we're going to make a really interesting ruffle. We're going to do the ruffle on the serger, and we're going to do a beaded rolled edge. This technique is not my own. It was taught to me by a friend, and I just think it's so much fun. But what I'm going to do, which is a little bit different than if you've seen it before, I'm going to do something a little different. I have put my box pleat tape on here. Now you're probably saying to yourself, what is box pleat tape? Well, this is a tape that I developed that you put on your fabric, and as you sew, you can line up the numbers and it makes perfect pleat tape, which we are going to do in a little bit when we sew this onto the pillow. But this makes perfect pleat tape. And if you'd like to see more examples of this pleat tape, check out my other classes on this channel, because there's some great projects that show this pleat tape. Anyway, so that's what it normally does. But what I like about it is we have numbers every inch apart here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the serger, and every time the number 1, the orange numbers, line up with my needle, I'm going to slide a bead on. So follow me to the machine. What I have in my upper looper is a heavy-duty decorative thread, and then just regular sewing thread in both the lower looper and in the needle. You'll notice for the heavy thread I have that spool adapter that I showed you in the beginning. I like this because then the thread doesn't get tangled up around the bottom of the spool. So for my settings down here, this is set on rolled edge. Because I'm using such a heavy thread, I have this on number 2. My width is at M for medium, and I have lowered my cutter. So the cutter's down on lock. Okay, so the cutter is not engaged. I'm going to use a specialty foot here. This is the curve foot, and it's a little shorter than our standard foot. I like this because it's a little easier to maneuver when I'm sliding my beads on. So I'm going to put this foot on. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to serge a little edge here, just maybe 2-3 inches, just to kind of get in the rhythm of things, and then I'll start sliding the beads on. I've used some fishing line. This is a 6-pound. I've used anywhere from like a 6 to a 12-pound test, and I just strung on a bunch of beads. The one at the end I tied in a knot so that it wouldn't come out, which is right here. This is knotted here at the end. Before I put the first bead in, I'm just going to open this up so you can see where I'm putting the bead. So I'm taking my fishing line. I'm just going to hook this underneath the back of the foot, and I'm going to lay it right here because I want that looper to catch that right there, okay? So I'm going to close this back up. And you'll see that on my tape, the number 2 is right here. I'm going to just sew until the number 1 is up at that same point. So basically when the number 1 comes up, even with that box, those orange numbers, I'm just going to sew a little bit, okay? And then I'm going to open this up so you can see. I won't open it each time, but I'm going to pull the fishing line back and watch this bead. You can see it kind of sneak up there, see? And because of the distance of the back of the foot, 1 inch is a perfect spacing for these beads. You could go farther apart and you could use the other numbers, but 1 inch works really well. All right? So then our next step is to bring another bead up. So then what I do is I take the bead, I hold the bead in my fingers, and bring that back. It's hooked on there just a little bit here. I'm going to hook it down here. This is a little tedious, but the more that you do it, you kind of get into a rhythm of things. So now we're going to sew until this number lines up with our box, and watch what happens with this loop. Can you see that loop? We're just going to pull that back, and now it hugs right behind the foot. We're going to pick up another loop. I come around from behind with my hand, and we hold it. Just hold that in place, hold it right along the edge of the fabric. Let the looper wrap around it, and pull it back. So I'm going to, again, pull this back over, and let's just open that door one more time so you can see. See, the fishing line is right underneath the foot there. I'm going to close that back up and stitch. And when I get lined up with my number, let's do this one more time so you can see this. As I say, one more for the girls in the cheap seats. See the bead, and then I pull. And this is why you have to use fishing line. You can't use thread because it's got to be nice and smooth like that. Let's do another one, just do a couple more. And once you start doing this, you kind of build a rhythm. So the rhythm is find the bead, hold the bead in the line right here. You're going to pull that little tot, get it right underneath the foot, and you can kind of feel it hook underneath the foot. Okay. All right, we'll do one more so you can see this pull in, pull the cord, and see how this is right behind the foot, so it's perfect spacing. Now, if you're doing this and you either the looper doesn't catch the cord, or you forget about a bead and you look and you've stitched 2-3 inches, don't worry about it. Just go back with a hand sewing needle and just fix those little beads after. Trust me, not every one that I do looks this good. We're just having a lucky streak right here, because often when I'm doing this, either I'm not wrapping the cord or wrapping the fishing line into the piping, and so really it takes some practice. This is not an easy technique. This is a little trickier, but I will tell you, it's great fun, and people will look at it after you've made it and say, how did you do that? Now think about what you could do with this. This could be great on the hem of a little girl's dress. You could do all kinds of edgings for this. You could do edgings on wedding gowns. This could be so elegant on a veil, a bridal veil. So there's just a lot of fun things. See, and you can just start doing it without even thinking. You can just get in that rhythm and just do it. Just a little bit of stitching. Pull this to the back, hold it taut, kind of hook it, make sure you feel the hook of it underneath the foot. Sew and then pull. And that's how you get your beaded edge.